Hey guys, a question we get asked all the time is how do we pack trips? And we're actually heading to Egypt tomorrow, to Hurghada, to go dive on Emperor Superior and go explore the Red Sea for Holly's first time, my second. But this is a question we get asked a lot. How do you guys pack all your dive gear?
Now for this trip, we're gonna go all carry-on. We're gonna put our dive gear in a little backpack and then everything else in a rolly bag. For our larger trips, we usually bring dive gear carry-on and then pack everything else in a bigger bag, or Mark actually puts his dive gear in a big bag and his camera equipment in carry-on. But for this trip, we're all carry-on.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so the first piece of kit we're going to talk about is actually the Hydros backpack. Now this is the Scuba Pro one, and as you've seen in the videos, me and Holly both dive Scuba Pro Hydros BCDs. And what's great about them is they're back inflation, but they're very light for traveling. And Scuba Pro, when you buy the BCD, include a backpack specifically for carry-on as well. So we're going to actually talk to you how we pack it into this. And just for anyone who's not maybe using Scuba Pro, there is other brands available, which Holly's going to link to the side here for you guys. Okay, so how we're going to do this is actually a great backpack. You can fit pretty much everything you see here is going to fit in this backpack. I know how, but we're about to show you that.
So here we have the Scuba Pro Hydros BCD. Now, as Mark was saying, this BCD is back inflation and it folds up really well. I've got the smallest size, so it does help me in packing the bag because I can wrap it up a little bit tighter than a larger size, but they all do wrap up and go into the bag. So at the back, it's got a buckle strap, and what you do to wrap it up nice and tight is you're actually going to feed the buckle strap around the front, unlike if you were to attach it to a tank, like so. Fold the two weight pouches up. Now some people have these not attached and they just put a weight belt, which makes it fold up even better, but I like to dive with my weight pockets and not a weight belt or just trim weights, so I keep my weight pouches on, but they do just squash up and they do bounce back afterwards, so it's no big deal if they get a little squashed. And then from this point onwards, the BCD will just fold in half and you'll be able to clip it on with the back strap. Clip it to the other side. Now I'm gonna do a little overlay so you can see a little bit closer, but once it's all together, it stays in its little package and you can just slide it straight into the bag. It's a really easy way to pack a BCD, and it doesn't ruin the BCD in any way, shape, or form because most of it's made of rubber, and so that makes it super easy to pack up nice and tight.
So one thing we all want to be aware of when we go diving is we want to make sure we have the right thermal protection. Now Egypt's going to be about 26 degrees Celsius when they're there. Now me, I can handle the cold a bit better than Holly, so I'm going to be taking my 3mm. Holly doesn't do too well with the cold, so she's got her 5mm. And you're probably thinking, how is a 5mm going to fit in there? Now what you need to do is you need to fold this up, which we're going to have an overlay how we do this, where we screw it up very, very tight and make it as thin as possible when we're rolling it up. Now when it is in the Hydros backpack, the Hydros slides into one side of it and then the wetsuit slides into the other side, so it becomes like almost like half and half. One side's the BCD, one side's the wetsuit, and it fits in and slots in very nicely as well.
So something quite embarrassing that I tell all of my open water students is it actually took me about 5 or 6 years to work out how to do this with my regulators, which initially made packing really difficult because packing regulators like this isn't exactly optimum. Packing them in a nice loop makes them much smaller, much more compact, and much easier to fit in a backpack. Now I like to protect my first stage between the BCD and the wetsuit, give it a little bit of protection in case anything knocks my backpack, but because my backpack's on me at all times, I know where it's going and it's not being thrown around by random people at airports. I then keep it in its loop and make it nice and tight, wrapping all my hoses around my regulators. Now, anybody that knows me knows that I hate having a dive computer on my wrist. I've actually got a dive computer on a console, So it unscrews, it's the Scuba Pro G2, it screws on with a little click and it screws off. So when I'm traveling, I take it off and I protect it in my mask box so that it's not getting battered all over the backpack with my regulators. So that comes off, but if you have a gauge, just tuck it in nice and tight and that's all good.
Okay, one of the things we have is our accessories. We can't forget them. What we have, of course, is our booties. We also have our weight pockets because we both dive integrated. Not the biggest fan of weight belts. And we also have our SMB, which is very important and real for when we're boat diving because you want that boat to be able to come and pick you up. And we have our mask box as well with, as Holly's pointed out, our computer for protection. Now, as we talked about there, protection. Now, we are walking around as backpacks. Yeah, we're going to be more careful of them compared to baggage handlers, but you've got to remember you're hitting x-ray machines, you're putting them in the overheads or under the seats, and they're getting a bit battered around. So what we like to do is we like to use our accessories where possible to create additional protection for our regulators and our BCD. So when we have everything in, as you can see in the overlay, Holly's way packing everything in, she's placing these booties with the soft side into the bag and the hard side on the outside to create an extra bit of padding protection for her kit. Also what you have is the weight pockets. Now when I pack them, I slide them down the side, which again using the hard side outside to create a bit of a hard protective wall. But what you can also do is you can, if you have your spare mask, you should always have a spare mask on dive trips, you can actually place the mask inside the weight pocket, imagining this is a spare mask, and actually slide it into the weight pocket like this. As you can see in the overlay just now, it creates an additional protection for it. Or alternatively, if you already have the mask in another box, you can put all your accessories together in the weight pockets. So the SMB in and also the reel. Keeps them all nice, tight, close together. And you know what happens the worst? Those loose things go missing all the time.
Yep,
so it's a nice way of keeping them all together as well, and creates a thicker padding protection as well.
Now, last but not least for our equipment is our fins. What's really cool about this backpack is it's got clips at the front, so you can just place your fins straight on the front of the backpack and clip them into place. Now they fit all different types of fins because you can adjust how big or small the clips are. So for this trip, we're both bringing our RK3s. I usually have my super long Maras, which are actually longer than the backpack, but they still clip in. And as long as you do them up tight enough, they're not gonna fall out. Now a little trick that we've both learned is when you're not traveling on the plane, so sometimes if you're in the car and things like that, if you've got a really big wetsuit and a bigger BCD, so the wetsuit and BCD don't fit both in the bag, you can usually fold your wetsuit in half and clip it in with your fins as well, which saves you having to carry it loads. So that's just a little trick that we learned.
Now one of the most important pieces of kit you can actually have is Save a Dive Kit. You do not want to be at a location, and we've done it multiple times in the past, you actually see it in the video I'll tag up here.
We have a problem.
Have we just lost an O-ring?
There isn't one in here. Why in all the ones that we get filled that day are there no O-rings?
Yeah. And this is why we should have a Save the Dive Kit. Where we actually forgot O-rings, or the O-rings were actually missing from tanks, and we forgot to Save a Dive Kit. So you definitely do not want to forget that. Now we have this one here. This one is not going to be going in the backpack. It's actually going to be going in our other roller bag, which will be carried on as well. Now of course we're on a liveaboard. There is multiple Save a Dive Kits on the liveaboard. The liveaboard operator, this time Emperor Divers for us, will have that all available for us. But it's always good for yourself to have one. Now what we kind of just generally have in it is spare computers, backup computers, compasses as well, especially spare hoses or torches, and little O-ring holders with lots of O-rings as well. We also have silicone grease and a variety of other different things to protect our cameras and everything else, and some tools as well, like spanners and Allen keys are very good as well. But we're actually going to do a video on a Save a Dive Kit coming up very soon, so stay around for that and don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you do not miss that.
Stay tuned. Now this has been totally personalized to this trip specifically. So we haven't got a hood, we haven't got gloves. Number one, it's not all that cold. Number two, you're actually not allowed to dive with gloves in Egypt. But obviously, if those were essentials for you, you could always put them in the bag. That's no big deal. You don't have to follow exactly what we do. This is just how we pack. Now in the other roller, we keep clothes. I keep my camera. I'm using the Sea Life iPhone housing, so that whole box is in there. I've got my chargers. I have a charging block. And then anything else that I need, toiletries, sweaters. I always keep a nice boat jacket so I don't get too cold. But we're not gonna overpack for this trip. We're literally just on a boat all week. So in each bag, I'll put up a nice little photo here of what's in each bag. So if you wanna take a little bit of an idea of how we pack, you can screenshot this. It gives you an idea of what we do, and then you can add what you need on it. Now we also always make sure that we've got anything for emergencies. We have our passports and all those documents. Those all stay in the roller bag or on us personally. This is all our dive gear, and that was pretty much what this video was.
Exactly.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. So we're all packed up. We're just about to head off at pretty much at 4 in the morning tomorrow, off to Egypt. We're going down to London, on to Istanbul, and then over to Hurghada, where we'll get on the liveaboard. This is all the gear we're bringing. Well, this is all my stuff. Mark will have his stuff as well. So we'll take you guys along with us, so stay tuned for some Egypt videos. See ya! Bye.